All right, everybody. Puppies, around 8 weeks of age to 12 weeks old. This is all about bonding with them and establishing boundaries. Both are equally important. We want to spend as much time as we can with the dog, let the dog learn to like us, get to know us. But we also need the dog to start understanding that there are boundaries, there are rules that it has to live by. The very first thing I do with the dog when I bring it home is I crate train it. Your dog's going to spend a ton of time in a crate over its lifetime. It's going to be in there when you're riding around in vehicles. It's going to be in a dog box, same thing. And at your house, all my dogs sleep inside at night. I leave them out all day. They come inside at night. They sleep in crates or they just sleep out in the living room. They're calm as can be. My family gets fine sleep. We don't get interrupted in the middle of the night because I've crate trained those dogs and they're totally calm and submissive in those crates. It's a necessity. The crate needs to be about as big as the dog is. Let it stand up without hitting the top of it, being wedged between it, whatnot. The dog needs to be able to lay down in it and stretch out, and that's about it. It doesn't need room to run around in it. You don't want to start a situation where it's going to the bathroom in one side of the crate and sleeping in the other and avoiding it. You're going to start training in a problem that way. You also don't want to put things in there for the dog to chew on and take out its frustration on. You want it to have to face the loneliness and the confinement and the control that kennel is really telling it. It wants out. It's going to throw a fit in the beginning to get out because it's been a wild pup and it's wanted its way. That kennel is telling it that those days are over and it's not going to like it. If you put stuff in there, you're going to teach that dog to take out its anger on things, and it's never really going to face the control of that kennel. And then you're going to be creating problems you're going to have to deal with in the future. That's going to transition over to it chewing up pillows in the house, chewing up couch legs, things like that. You don't want to create a chewer. So I leave them in there with just the plastic bottom that they come in, and that's it. That's all they've ever needed. In a climate-controlled house, they're fine. The other thing a blanket can do is it can start going to the bathroom on that blanket, and it can soak up the pee and kind of remove it from the dog and let it still be comfortable in there and let it go to the bathroom in there, and we don't want that. So how do we go about the crate training? When they're young, when they're 8 weeks old, you're going to have to let them out a lot. They're going to need to go to the bathroom. I let mine out about every 2 hours around the clock. If you have someone staying at home, set a timer every 2 hours, take it outside, let it go to the bathroom, let it play. They got a lot of exercise needs. They got a lot of energy that needs to be burnt out. Let them have an outlet for that energy. It has to happen. You know, think of locking a kid in a closet and expecting it to be totally fine with that for months. It's not going to happen. That kid, recess in schools, that kid's going to have to get out. It's going to have to burn energy. Same as the pup. That said, anytime you look at a dog, talk to a dog, touch a dog, you're acknowledging behavior. Whatever, dogs live in the moment. So whatever that dog is doing at that moment that gets it attention, be it verbal, touch, visual, you're telling that dog, that got me something. So if that dog's throwing a fit and you stop it, Sparky, stop it. Now every time he does something that you don't like, you're acknowledging that behavior, which is telling the dog, if I do this, I'm going to get attention for it. That is not what you want to do. To boil it down in a nutshell, the dog gets zero attention. It does not exist if it's not engaging in the kind of behavior you want, which is a calm, quiet dog. You're going to have to time this very well whenever it's a young pup throwing fits. There's been times where I've just been sitting just out of view and waiting for a 5-second gap in the barking. I don't care. I just don't want to reward it when it's throwing a fit. If the dog poops or pees in the kennel and it's throwing a fit, leave it. You can clean him off 1,000,000 times, but when you take him out when he's throwing that fit, you're teaching him to throw that fit to get out. The entire name of the game of that kennel, that crate, is to teach it to be calm and patient and accept the control. You're going to run into issues where you put the kennel in the living room, you walk into the living room, the dog sees you, the dog starts throwing a temper tantrum. If that stuff happens, remove the dog from the living room. Put him in a back bedroom with the door closed. Put a blanket over it if you have to. Be careful of that. If it's hot, you don't want to overheat them. You can kill a dog that way pretty quick. And then you want to put something on top of it and drape the blanket over so he can't grab the blanket and pull it into the crate, because then you're just creating the problem I talked about earlier where they start taking their frustration out on things. You don't want them to be able to get away with that. In the beginning at night, I have a storm cellar in my garage. Oftentimes that dog is in the storm cellar with the door shut, the garage door shut, our bedroom door shut, so we can sleep at night while that thing's freaking out. The first month or so of getting a pup is rough. There's no way around it. You're going to lose sleep. You're going to be tired. It's part of the game, y'all. You just got to deal with it. If you want to do the crate training game and have a dog that actually has some manners, doesn't bark all night outside, wake your neighbors up. So when those dogs, if there's too much stimulation for them in the house, if you got them in the living room or the kitchen and they bark at everything that moves, back them out, move them somewhere calm and quiet, distraction free, and as they accept that, slowly start working them back in to your living room or to being around the family. And you may have to introduce your kids that way. When your kids come home from school, you may have to put the dog in the back for a while, let him hear what's going on and freak out and learn that I don't get the attention. The last thing you want is kids or guests or the wife or whoever's in your home seeing a cute little puppy and just running up to it in that kennel and loving it up. That can't happen. There's got to be rules on that. That dog is there to learn to be patient and submissive. So in a nutshell, y'all, that's crate training. We do that until the dog has accepted it. Crate training actually really never ends. My dogs are constantly going in crates and staying in them for hours and coming out of them. It's just part of their life. I feed them in the crate when they're young, in the beginning. I just want them to know that world exists inside that crate, and feeding them in the crate allows you to control the food, which is a big communicator of leadership to a dog. So I take the food, I put it in their crate, I give them about 20 minutes to eat it. If they don't eat it, they don't get a chance to eat until the next mealtime. The leader controls the food, period. You don't want a free grazer. You don't put food and stuff in there for them to eat as they want. You need them dependent on you for that meal. That really helps set the stage of leadership, followership. So, when the dog goes to go out of the kennel, if he's a big dog, if you're not getting this dog as a puppy, you can do this method with dogs throughout their whole life. It takes longer with an older dog that's learned bad habits, but it works. It's 100% effective. I've never had it not work. It's taken a year before on a dog, but it works. So when you go to let them out, if they're young, little bitty puppies, you can let them in a fenced-in backyard. As long as you can catch them, that's fine. But you don't want to create a position where a dog can get away from you, escape your control, and know it can get away from you and run from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So if that dog's bigger and faster than you are, or you're going out to an area it could run away and really be a problem, clip it on a leash. I don't let them run around the house at all during this time frame until they start accepting the kennel and they start understanding that you're in charge. When you start telling them no, if they pick up a sock off the floor or out back, something in the backyard they're not supposed to have, and you say no and they drop it, or you say no and you see that body language and they start to cower, they're starting to understand. They understand what no means. They understand that they don't want that happening. When that starts happening, they start understanding their place a little bit. Then you can kind of start playing games with them down the hallway where you got one person sitting on one end of the hallway, one person sitting on the other, and you're setting them up to learn the come command where you just say their name and call them, give them a little sliver of a hot dog or something, back and forth down the hallway. That way they're still kind of controlled, but they're bonding with you. They're learning a valuable hunting command, but they're still under control and they can't escape your control, and you can pick them up and put them back in. So the moment they can get away from you, they're on a leash. You don't want a dog off a leash that you don't have already taught to come to you. So in a nutshell, that is crate training.